Hey everybody, welcome. I am Tiana and thank you so much for joining us today on the Tiana to You Talk Show. So in the studio we have my girl Walita. And Walita, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad to be here. Yes.
Thank you so much. Now the reason I asked Walita to join us today is because she has a very interesting story and a very interesting career choice that I personally found very intriguing. So I wanted her to come on and tell us a little bit about herself, how she got to this place in her life that she decided to take this career choice, and just some of the adventures that she has experienced along the way. Right? So, first of all, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
You feeling good? You looking good? Okay, feeling good. And when you're feeling good and you're looking good, then you do good. I got that from my sister, Sonora. Shout out. So, tell us a little bit about who is Walita. What are some of the influences in your life that help you be the woman that you are today?
So, as a woman, all my life, I've been in this field where I gotta push myself a little bit further, and with the field that I'm in now, I guess going through the stuff that I went through previously, doing hair, and then I've done CNA, I've done welding, I've been in construction. I've done all those things, but those things were based on making money for my family. So there wasn't something that I can say that I really wanted to do, but I love doing connecting with people. So a lot of those, when it came to connecting with people, that was my mindset. So after my kids grew up and I needed to get to know myself again. I needed to get to know who I was. So that led me to this career that I'm in now, which is truck driving, because it gives me time on the road. And then being in the things of God and on the spiritual aspect, I wanted to have a better, more intimate relationship with God. So that's who I really am. Like, I'm a woman of God that wants to be more intimate with God and know the purpose and plan that He has for me. I've done a lot of stuff, but knowing who He is very important, because you can do a lot of things, but it might not mean nothing to God if it's not about your purpose. You know what I mean? So for me to want to enhance who I am and get to know what it is that God has for me, I felt like this was the best opportunity. I love driving. I love traveling. I'm able to see the world. So that just became something that was where I was able to make the money, plus travel, plus I like driving. So it just made sense to me. Yeah, it just made sense. So, yeah.
I'm glad that you said that, because you actually led into some of the basic questions that I have for you, and you touched on some of those things. One of the first things that stood out to me is you said that you love to connect with people. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to some of the jobs that you've had in the past, mm-hmm. and they all lead back to you connecting with people. Yeah. Is that something that you noticed about yourself even as a little girl? And can you tell us a little bit? I know you said you took on this position wanting to learn more about you. Can you take us along in that journey, even from childhood leading up to this place that we are, to just give us a little backstory about Walita, the woman, the Walita, the young girl that led into the woman, maybe some of your influences, just kind of take us on that journey of that part of you that loves to connect with people.
Okay. So, being young, I had a lot of friends, but the friends that I had, each of them, they didn't get along. So I was always the mediator, the counselor, the one that, if they didn't get along, I'd be the person that kind of put everybody together. We would still do the things that we do, but I would kind of be the voice for both sides. Okay. So my passion became like a women's ministry. It became I want to help women. I want to, and me having 4 kids, growing up, my mom, she had 2 kids, but my mom was really good as far as when it comes to her job and things like that. But I started seeing things that were more so to me like in her life where when a woman works and she has 2 kids and she's a single parent, and it started making me feel like women needed, more support, or being I kind of looked at it as women were victims in a way of decisions that were being made for us, or decisions we made. So it became something that I was kind of driven with after a while. And then having kids and going through the things I went through, like having 4 kids and then struggling, trying to, make sure everything was right. Then I get on assistance, and then, you make $1 more and then they'll cut you off. So it's like, okay, I need to go hard. Now, as far as influences, I had a lot of influences, but I didn't have a lot of information to put the things that I feel like that women needed together, because I didn't think that we had that solid connection. I had cousins that, I guess in my world, it was like we all was tight and close.
Yeah.
But when I stepped out of my world, I would hear different things about, like, women, I can't trust a woman, this, that, and the other. So I didn't have that problem though.
Yeah.
And so I would think everybody that I was around, like I have cousins and I have aunties, and I have, all of them are my influences.
Okay.
All of them are, because they made like me see different views of women, different ways of women, different point of views of women, and I just took it all in, and I decided, what kind of woman do I want to be?
Yeah.
It allows you to, when you look at all the different perspectives, you say, what kind of woman do I want to be? What kind of woman do I want to build myself up to be? So with that, I like this part of a woman. I like that part of a woman. But I can't say that I fit in, because I was tall.
Yeah.
Most of the women around me was not as tall. I was big.
Yeah.
So nobody was really like as big as I was. So I kind of adapted something from the inside out. I couldn't rely on my outside appearance, even though I had the pretty, how you hear, oh, you're beautiful, but I didn't have that. So, and then you got to think, when I was growing up, that was pretty much the era where if you were skinny, you could be the model. If you were skinny, you could be, you couldn't, the hips and all of that stuff is like now. That's a now thing, but when I was growing up, that was not a now thing. Clothes and everything was not fitting me right or nothing. I was just kind of not the original, regular, normal size type woman back then. So, but it's like I said, I had to kind of create my own authentic self. So a lot of, I can say that hardships in my life kind of transformed me, kind of put things in me in perspective. But I was fishing for stuff. I was experimenting. I was, I didn't know a lot, so I had to read up on stuff. I had to figure things out, because nobody really, we was all kind of like secret squirrels back then. Nobody really sat down and said, baby, let me tell you this, let me tell you that. You kind of had to figure it out. You would hear the basics of, don't do this or don't do that, or when I say that, I mean, like, you're not supposed to wear this, or you're supposed to keep this together, things like that. But it wasn't like a detailed thing of the basics of being a woman. Cook, clean,
Yeah.
making sure you got yourself together, stuff like that. But even that was really generic.
Right.
It was really generic. So trying to find resources and information back then without the computer, on top of that, you couldn't research anything. You didn't have like the internet like you do now.
Right.
So it was kind of a limiting thing where I had this passion in me to do more and want to, travel and do things. But I was limited in my resources because of the people I was around also. Because at that time, I think that it was just now being broadened that like women was able to get these great jobs like Philip Morris, and all of these jobs started becoming an opportunity. And that's how my aunties and my mom started getting those jobs. So my mom was a worker and I seen that. So work became like my thing.
Right.
But initially, I didn't really hear about college. I didn't really hear about all those things. I just kind of went from the work aspect of trying to, get accomplished. I wasn't raised in church like, a lot of people. So I didn't really get to know God until I got older. Like really get to know, not that I didn't hear about God, not that I didn't hear about Jesus, but the thing is, I didn't really get into the whole church thing because I felt like I didn't fit everywhere I went.
Oh, wow.
There wasn't a place for me. I needed teaching. I needed therapy. I needed counseling because of the stuff that I had grew up in, the drugs and all of that stuff. So it kind of like was a pivot point in my life when I met God. And that's why, that's when my life started transforming. God became my God. The people around me were understanding to a certain point, but God doesn't do things normal.
Right.
So it kind of looked like what I was doing was odd.
Right.
So
Right. I love that, and I love your transparency because I believe that is a very important attribute as to why you can connect with so many people. I see you, I've known you for maybe over 10 years now, and one thing that I notice about you is you do love people, and people love you. You have a warm personality, and you embrace, and you find something about the person that you can uplift, and of course people want to be around that, So I'm hearing that some of the things that you dealt with growing up and some of the moments that you look to maybe find your place and where you fit in, because you had to kind of carve that lane for yourself, that lended towards you being more open-minded about the opportunities in the world as well, right? I hear you talking about the career choice you have now, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, because I think that is so super interesting, because if you haven't noticed, she's gorgeous, right? And she's a woman, right? And we're like, okay, this is an interesting career choice, and I'm sure there's a lot of challenges that come with that. So I really want to walk through and let the people hear that story behind what led you to over-the-road truck driving, what led you, because it may not necessarily be the first choice that most women would choose. And it is a male-dominated lane, should I say, no pun intended. And I go back to you saying how you like to connect with people, and the young woman that you were, and how you were trying to find yourself in that. As you move into the next season of your life, into motherhood, what was that like, bringing all of that in? Because we do, we find ourselves in places trying to find ourselves and making decisions from a place that we don't know ourselves. Many times we connect with people and we become parents, and now we are raising children and trying to help them become the people that they're supposed to be, right? So we kind of put ourselves on the back burner, and we begin to cultivate them. And that natural inclination that we have, of course, for others, our children are going to come first. You know, if we're going to feed anybody, we're going to feed them. We're going to pour into them, and we want to see them be the people that they are. What did the next season of motherhood look for Walita?
So motherhood changed me because, like, I was promiscuous, and it was because I was looking for, like, love. I didn't have, like, a big connection in the sense of what I guess emotional connection. I had the stuff I needed, you know, the roof over my head, the food and everything, but that love and that inside connection that I was missing, and I thought that, okay, I need to find that in a man. Like, you know, that's what I was told, like the man was the connection that I needed. So, you know, a relationship, I'd be in it, it wouldn't work. Or, you know, I'd meet somebody and it just didn't seem to be what was needed. So when I ended up getting pregnant, I went through like a little phase at first because I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna protect these kids? And I had been through a situation when I was younger, so I'm thinking, how am I gonna protect these kids? And I couldn't even protect myself, you know? So as I got into the next relationship, because my first child is by one man, the other child, my other kids are by the same guy, but we end up getting married. I end up meeting God, and when I met him, I was thinking, okay, I need to settle down. You know, I got these kids, you know, my whole mindset changed. Like it was about, I was, you know, let me tell you, I think I was enjoying my life before. You know, I was doing my thing, but when I started having kids, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this world's bigger than what I thought it was. My mind had to come outside of being just by myself and, you know, and just doing me, like I was doing me. You know, and I might have not thought it was the big thing, like as I look back, and I'm thinking, dang, I was doing me. But I ended up having my daughter, and then I was like, I have got to settle down. But you know, also that desiring you of wanting that all your life, you know, you, like I said, when we were younger, you hear the Prince Charming coming to rescue you. You seen Cinderella. You seen all these basic movies that we didn't have the big screen things. We had the basic movies, the fairy tale.
The VHS.
Yes. So I'm wanting this life with these kids and a family and you know, I'm like, oh yeah. But it didn't turn out that way. I got married and I was ready. But it was like as soon as we made this good decision, the enemy come in and just, it messed it up. So I'm thinking, oh my God, now I got 4 kids. It's like I woke up one day out of this fog. I got 4 kids and a husband. I'm thinking, what in the world? And when the marriage didn't work, it kind of tore me up because it was like shame again, another shameful moment in my life. And I'm thinking, I had just thought, okay, I got this marriage, now I got these kids, now I'm ready to live life. You know, I'm ready to get this picket fence, this house, I'm ready to do this. And it didn't work. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm looking crazy again, one time again. So I end up looking at things like from a perspective of it's about these kids, you know? And the one thing that I knew is that I wasn't gonna allow someone else to raise my kids because I felt like they didn't really do a good job. And not that they didn't really do a good job in the sense of, it was just the fact that when you look at things now, you say they didn't know. So it just passes down. You know, no shade to my mom, no shade to anybody else, but the thing is like you come to this realization, and I was upset, I was angry because I felt like, oh my God, you know, they could have did this, they could have did that, but when you have kids, you like, wait a minute, like, you start seeing that you're kind of divided. You're divided in yourself because first of all, you want this relationship, this marriage that everybody's like, you know, the picket fence, the this, the that, but they don't tell you about the struggles. They don't tell you about that. And then when he decided that he wasn't wanting to be there, it was too much responsibility, I had to pick up that slack. And I didn't like it because I wanted to be the nurturing, loving, kind, gentle mom. I had that idea all that time, and then it was a battle for me to be the disciplinary also. But I knew that that was necessary. So the things that I decided to do was, like, when it didn't work, instead of me getting into another relationship, I was thinking, okay, I don't want something to happen to my kids, and then that would have torn me up. Like, there's some things that I feel like would tear a person up, but for my own self, my own conviction is somebody touched my kids, somebody had did something to my kids, I couldn't live with that. Now, there's a whole lot of things that, you know, like I said, people can live with, but that was my main one. So because of that, that meant that I was going to have to work hard. That meant that I was going to have to, you know, grind. And that put me in a position where I didn't get to really do everything that I wanted. So I lacked in a lot of stuff as far as, I tried it, you know, I would put my son into football, and I had the coaches to help me, my girls, I would try to do stuff, but I lacked because I'm having 4 kids, they all have 4 different personalities, and, you know, I'm loving them all, and the thing is, my kids, I love my kids, like, I love them as the people they are, not just my kids, but just who these little people with these personalities and this character, and I'm thinking, I'm going hard for them, you know what I mean, but they actually started to change me and my perception of life. And so with that responsibility, it was like, oh my, I have to get out here and figure this out. But it was like every road would, like, I would say some roads would be a circle, like you going in a circle. Some roads was a dead end, and it was a struggle for me because I had to wait, I had to hide, I had these kids, and I'm like, you know, inside, I'm wounded, I'm damaged, you know, but I just couldn't feed into that. You know what I mean? I could not feed into that, and I was like, when I finally met God, where is God? Well, who is God? What am I here for? And it was almost like He met me at the perfect time, and I changed my life for them to have a better life. And that was motherhood for me. Motherhood for me was my kids and my next generations to have a better life than I had.
Absolutely.
So that was motherhood.
That was awesome. I can relate to a lot of what you were saying, and I know many women and parents out here can relate to that as well. As you begin to watch your children grow up into the next season of their life and become the adults that they are, there was this space of emptiness that started to open up, right? And being a mother, many times we put so much into that position of being a mother that we have kind of forgot what that woman was and what she wanted to do and what her dreams and goals and aspirations were. So when I listened to your story of your childhood, you growing up, some of the things that you were going through, I still notice there's a common thread of connection. Right? You still remain, whether you realized it or not, you still remain true to who you were. You just extended yourself in different ways, and there was different portions of you that were accentuated at that time. So as your children begin to grow and they start to have their own lives, and you find yourself at a place where it's you again, and you start to think about, okay, what is it that I really want to do? I noticed that, and I will say, and she say that she is a grinder. Like, she has, and I get that. I know that that feeling of, you know, because as a woman, we are nurturers, and a lot of us, we do want the opportunity to really just pour into our children, you know. But sometimes we make choices and decisions, or we don't always, you know, have the opportunity to do that in the way that we would like to, and so we have to pick and choose, you know. And she did. She jumped right into place, and she made a way for her children, and there was different things that I would see Walita doing throughout the years, and I would just be like, Walita, girl, you don't be playing. I tell her all the time, I say, girl, you don't be playing, you gonna get it done, you know. And I appreciated that about her, and she spoke to me during the years, whether she knows it or not, just really watching you, you know, as a mother myself, just really watching you. I always tell you that I was connected to you in a way that was a kindred spirit, and I got it, you know. I was out there working, doing what I had to do, and then coming from that lane of, you know, I used to be a hairdresser as well. There's a certain type of person, you know, that picks these type of jobs because we want to be creative, but there's a free bird in us as well, you know what I'm saying? And we want the opportunity to be able to provide, but kind of still do some things on our own terms. So that leads me into the segue of being an over-the-road truck driver. Talk about a free bird.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when I think about that, you seeing God's country. You're there, you having opportunities to really reflect over some things. You're meeting people that you probably would not meet on an everyday basis. So tell us a little bit about getting to that place where when your children are grown and you now want to go into a career path that's a little unorthodox for a woman. So what caused you to want to do that? Did you have anyone in your family that's done that? Was there any situation that happened and someone maybe convinced you to do that? What intrigued you about driving trucks?
So I didn't know that my grandfather was a truck driver.
Oh.
But before that, I like to say that I still had the passion about being able to help women.
Okay.
And then wanting to be an example for that, for that role model that I was wanting for, but trying to figure things out at the same time. So I was still kind of torn, and then my kids was not working with me. When they got to be teenagers, I'm like, I got this plan.
Yeah.
And I need y'all to work with me.
Right.
But it didn't work. So as you get to that empty nesting phase, you like, okay, the kids didn't work, the man didn't work with me. You understand that the kids didn't work. But it takes maturity.
Yeah.
It takes maturity to understand all of that,
Yeah.
because while you're in it, everything is serious. Everything is like, this is my life. I gotta get y'all together. I mean, everything seems like it's so severe. Like it's like, this has to happen.
Right.
Or there is not gonna be a good life. Like you want to, like you said, pour into their life. You want to set yourself up, but at the same time set them up to have a better life. And I'm trying to struggle to do this all by myself in the sense of, but my mom helped. I depended on different people. It was like a Miss Pam at church. There was Miss Cosette. There was different people that God had intertwined in my life that helped me out because I wanted this. It was like I was driven, and I sometimes think, should I have just not worked at all and just raised my kids and just lived on assistance? Like, it's not that I didn't have assistance. Like, I might have got assistance. Yeah. But then here comes me working, and then they like, well, your rent's going up because you go from Section 8 paying maybe $40, $50 to $800. Yes. Then you like, wait a minute. Yeah. And then like say you get, so much food stamps and you make $1 or $2 more and you like, okay, they cutting you off. Yeah. Like, I'm like, forget it. Yeah. Forget it, because I'm thinking when I think of, just sitting back and doing me, nothing, which is what it seemed like the government was. It's like they want to replace the man. Like they want you to just sit back. They're going to take care of you. but to me it wasn't productive
Right.
for who I am.
Yes.
Meaning, I'm thinking, okay, rent, then I want a car, and then car insurance, gas. I want my kids to be in different, activities. And I'm thinking, how am I gonna do that sitting back with Section 8, food stamps, and a check each month?
Yeah.
How am I gonna do that? And I'm thinking, okay, there's gotta be, something better. There's gotta be a better thing. But like I said, I was so torn between trying to, I didn't want anything to happen to my kids, but at the same time, I know that I need this balance in my life.
Right.
I know I need help. So, the people that helped me was a good additive as far as support, but it wasn't like a everyday in the house structure.
Yeah.
So every job that I got to be like, it was worth it. It was needful. But when I got to that stage where my kids was like ready to go out of the house, I was thinking, okay, what can I do that's gonna be able to transition me in this next stage and me to be able to get to know me without everybody around, without everybody's influence anymore. Because, growing up, people try to tell you how to raise your kids, how you supposed to live, how you supposed to do things. The kids are fighting to do this. The daddies are trying to tell you what they want. Everybody's influence is on you and pulling you all over the place for you to do everything they want you to do. And it's like it's tormenting in the sense of you can't figure out everything and make everybody happy.
Right.
So you like, okay, I gave everybody all my life, part of my life, most of my life, whatever.
Yeah.
Now you come to this stage and you like, what are you gonna do? Because now you don't have the motivation of the kids no more. That was my motivation. That was my passion. That was me saying, oh my gosh, that was my getting up, doing the thing, the picket fence, the family, the this, the that, seeing this dream. And now I have nothing to like really say who I am.
Right.
And it's like, okay, now what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go back to living my best life, single, living my best life, just out there everywhere? But because I had God in my life, it put me in a different perspective of who are you? What am I made for? What is my purpose? Like, I couldn't do the ministry that I felt like was inside of me in the sense of, being really fulfilled because I gotta raise these kids.
Yeah.
And I'm torn and I need the money. So my mind was constantly about working and getting the money that I needed to be able to have and provide this better life.
Right.
But not having, I could say, like the tools, the resources in the sense of, like I said, us not growing up in that thing of having the Wi-Fi, the being able to find people, connect with people, and then being overweight. And then, so I started getting the weight off before the kids was out of the house. I started. So that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that preparation phase of going into the next season of your life.
And then I'm trying to figure out who this woman is in the process of still wanting to be a woman, along with being a mother, along with being a businesswoman, along with being, wanting to still be a wife, along with one. You got all these different desires and wants that's pulling you all around. And then you got these strong needs because you got kids, and these needs are like crying out. You're like crying out. And everybody's like, girl, you got 4 kids. I can't help you. Now, 1 or 2, maybe. One's an accessory. 2, girl, we can handle that. You got 3 or 4. Wait 1 minute. Right. And I'm thinking, but I got my kids. Like, I got that. I just need the help. And so I'm saying that to say, like I don't need you to step in and be me or step in and be the dad. I just needed the actual support.
Right.
But then you think, I start realizing, do I want to be in a relationship to help me raise my kids? Because then that's not really a relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's somebody who's helping you raise your kids.
Yeah.
But having a relationship, you're going to give over to that man.
Yeah.
And then so that's another reason why I had to rethink relationship why I had these kids.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, because that's going to put me in a position of, okay, this is another man's kid. These are another man's children. And then I got this man. He has to be this type man. I have this certain idea man in my head. I never found, that I had never ran into that. Not that I'm not supposed to find the man, but I never ran into that. But I think it was because I had already made the decision that I didn't want anybody, and I didn't have myself together enough to really pull in myself, because I was not confident. You know what I mean? To be that woman that I was supposed to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
I was confident in being the mom, but as far as a woman, I wasn't confident on being everything in every level, because I was disappointed by the shame of the marriage that failed. Right. So as I examine myself through the years, like I continually examine myself. And so that I didn't want to be bitter. Yeah. I didn't want to be resentful. I didn't want to be in strife. Now, I'm not saying, and I didn't want to be in unforgiveness. I'm not saying that those things didn't enter me at times. Yeah. But I really sought to seek God so that my blessings wouldn't be hindered, and so that God would still hear me, because I knew what those things would do if I didn't get them out of me. Yeah. And so I had to make sure that my heart stayed pure. I had to make sure I had a good attitude, because I got 4 kids looking at me. Yeah. And I love these kids. I didn't want them to become something because of the effect that I had on them of having a negativity or a problem with things in life. So that was still my motivation. So when I became an empty nester, I always wanted a good attitude. I always wanted to be a happy person. Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm not letting the enemy take that from me. Yeah. But I never knew who I was. Because like I said, when you're promiscuous, you got the desires of men. Yeah. And this is a young age. Yeah. And then I go from that to having kids. Yeah. Now I really don't know myself, because I got to give over to these kids. Yeah. Then I tried the marriage thing. I got to give over to that. Yeah. So I come to this point where I'm like, I done lived my best life doing everything and anything I was big and bad enough to be. Yeah. And big and bad enough to do, causing all kind of problems in my life, because I'm not making good decisions. I'm just living my best life. Yeah. So then I come to this point and I'm like, I can't go back to that. I'm too old for that. Right. I can't go back to that. But like I said, with God grounding me and me having that passion of still wanting to be a good influence and to have money so that I could help other people, especially the young women that I knew was raising kids themselves. Yeah. I knew that I had to do something to get myself to that point where I had the stability, the establishment, the money, the look, the everything. So when I talk to them, I'm not just talking from something somebody told me, but I'm talking from pure experience, but the wisdom of God and how He brought me through. So when it came to trucking, I had drove a bus. I was in the school system driving a bus, and I loved the kids. But the thing was I had been driving. I'm thinking, I love this, but at the same time, it was like, it's not really me. Yeah. But the kids wasn't the problem. It was still some of the effects of like me not being the timing and things like that in my life.
Right.
So I went from that. I loved the driving. I loved I loved all that. But I was like, I don't really want to be responsible for the passengers, the kids.
Yeah.
But I still did. I went from there. Then I went to a company and I started driving like the trolleys, the buses, but I still wasn't like really fulfilled with that.
Yeah.
I still like, so what I liked about it was I like sitting up high.
Yeah.
I like being able to look around, sightsee.
Yeah.
I like the people, but I was still in that situation of I needed some time for myself to learn who I was.
Yeah.
So the next step was truck driving.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I like the road. I like the traveling. I'm going to go on and try for my CDLA.
Mm.
And I thought because I drove buses that it was going to be just this easy peasy thing.
Okay.
But I had a little struggle with it at first.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little struggle, but I knew I needed to do it. I knew it was something I could do.
Yeah.
But it was like the enemy. I had tried like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And that reverse thing. So when you turn left, your trailer goes right. When you turn right, your trailer goes left.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with that in the, I could get on the road and drive.
Yeah.
But it was operating this big old truck
Mm-hmm.
and trying to maneuver it. And I'm like, I know this is for me. Like
Yeah.
I just felt it. And so I went and I failed like twice. And then I said, no, I'm still not giving up.
Yeah.
I'm still not giving up because I knew inside of me that I still wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is like a dire thing for me.
Oh, wow.
I got to get to know who I am,
Yeah.
and I got to spend time with God.
Yes.
And this is the only, I just didn't see no other avenue
Yeah.
of me actually getting away
Mm.
from everybody and being able to search out and seek that time for myself and to seek that time with God.
Yeah.
Like having that relationship with God for like my son was a baby, so that's when it first like really became this, God put a hook in me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked. So it was like, okay, but I know God, I know the word, I know this, but that relationship, that intimacy, I wanted that not just when I stepped in the church,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta seek God about this purpose and this plan that He has for my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And this truck is the way I gotta do it.
Yeah.
So I'm driving. After I got my license, I'm driving. So I kind of stagnated for a while
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what company to go with.
Yeah.
So I'm praying and I'm like, Lord, help me. Lord, what am I gonna do? Like I'm really empty nesting, and I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Okay.
What am I gonna do? Because I feel empty, for real. It's
Oh,
empty
wow.
nesting.
Right.
Because my kids are grown, they gone, they living their best life.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, okay, what am I really gonna do with myself?
For yourself.
Yes. So I'm driving down the street and I see different trucks. But one day I seen Snyder. I'm like, Snyder? So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still driving because I was intimidated too, because I told you I'm trying to maneuver this. I just get out of school. I done failed 2 times. I finally passed, but I really don't feel confident.
Right.
So I'm still thinking, I know this is the avenue, but how am I going to get there?
Right.
And who's going to hire me? Because I'm looking at jobs and they saying you got to have this much experience. And I'm like, I don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
I have experience in driving this bus, but not this truck.
Right.
So I'm like, I got to go with a company that trains. So I'm still
Okay.
driving, and I see Snyder again. And I'm like, did you say Snyder, Lord? So I calls, and it's just like the ball just started rolling from there. Now I had a little hardship because I had went, and then it was like, of course, anything that you're trying to do
Exactly.
that has a purpose for your life, the
Yeah.
enemy is gonna try to jump in and persuade you that what you're doing is not the route.
Yeah.
But I was not persuaded, and I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna fight this until I actually get to that point. And so I did. And so I went, and they were like, well, you gotta go home and get this doctor form. But for some reason, it was like the place was sending the form to the wrong company. And I'm calling them. I'm like, did y'all get the form? They like, no. So weeks and weeks went by. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So then I had to, of course I got doubtful, but I was like, nah, something ain't right. So I go to the company, come to find out they sending it to the wrong place. Got that straight. Then I end up going to the training. And then from there, you have to do like a training, like a class. Then you go out on the road with a trainer, and then you go from there to being on your own. So as I'm doing this training in the school, I'm confident. As I'm doing this on the road thing with my trainer, like she's so awesome, and she's like, I've never felt so comfortable with a student driver. And I'm like, okay. But at my age, that's another thing. It's like, you thinking, it's like starting all over with life. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know nothing. Yeah. Especially going into this new stage. Right. So it's like, but I don't want to go back to that old stage either. So I'm like in this betwixt. So I'm like, okay. Because I never wanted to have kids with my kids. So I didn't want to go back to that.
I know that's right.
So I closed that gap. And then I'm like, okay. So it led me to where I'm at now. And now I'm just like, yeah. I'm like,
it feels right.
It feels so right. It feels so right to get to know myself, but not just know myself, but have that time for myself. Have that enjoyment to get to love myself, even like a deeper understanding of myself, and to forgive myself. I have the time to really process what I've been through, the decisions I made, and everything. And say to myself, I forgive you. You know what I mean? Like, I forgive you. You didn't know. Like, you can't hold yourself to something that happened at 13, 14, 15, like 20. Like, you immature. You didn't know. But the shame and all the things that the enemy tries to still stick to you. It's like almost like a cover. He tries to keep you in this bondage. And you like, I gotta let that go. I gotta let everything that I may have thought that was so important.
Go into it's good.
You like
it's
it?
Good.
You like it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
God is all in this.
Yes.
Can't you feel it?
Yes, I do.
I mean, for real.
Yes, I do. I know. I do. He's actually giving me the words.
I mean, baby,
me.
you flowing. You are flowing and you are ministering. Like, for real, this is good stuff.
Good.
And I might not edit this. Y'all have to watch me gloss up to everything, because I don't want to miss nothing.
Right. Oh my gosh, this is just like.
Thank you.
Yes. It's
okay.
so easy to talk to you though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, honey. That's God.
Yes.
I'm telling you. And I'm over here captivated. So I know, honey, some folks is getting blessed off of this. You hear me?
Yes.
I cannot wait. I hear you talking about the common thread of God. Like how he changed the whole game for you, right? And how even in the midst of your struggles and in the midst of you being a mother, trying to, I like to say, make the bacon and come home and cook it, he kept you. He kept you
in
he kept you in a place to where even if you didn't have the answers, you knew that you could turn to him, right? And even when things were a struggle, he covered you.
Yes.
And you may not have known exactly who you were, but along the way, He's taking you on this journey
Yes.
that's leading you right to where you are now. And that all of those things that you went through, they are supporting what the ministry that you're doing now.
Yes.
So a lot of times he has to turn that noise off.
Mm-hmm.
For many years, we live and we sustain throughout the noise
Yes.
because we got to. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
there's certain obligations that we have to fulfill, right?
Yes.
Because that it's part of us. But then as they begin to transition, and you begin to transition into this new space, it gets quiet.
Yes.
It starts to get quiet, and that's that voice that rises up inside, and you're thinking, okay, I'm back to that place where I'm trying to remember who I am again.
Yes.
Right? I don't have these obligations to distract me.
Mm-hmm.
And God is saying, let me take you to a place where you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
And it can look different from each of one, for each one of us. But when I look at you and I see you on this journey on the truck driving, right, I got so intrigued because I was just like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you're on the road,
Yeah.
you're seeing the world,
Yeah.
you're quiet in the cab with God.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the woman that you are, you're seeking his face in everything that you do.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he's
Oh, yeah.
taking you to places. So it's literally this metaphor for life.
Yes.
You're going from one place to another. You think you're taking, dropping off a load, but you're actually getting the opportunity to not only be alone with him, but to see things and the reflection of you in his face along the world. I remember you telling me once about a situation where you were just able to recognize God's glory after on the road.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to tell us a little bit more about getting quiet with God as he brings you into this place of getting on the road and driving these hours. Tell us a little bit about your schedule, first of all, what that looks like, and then go into the personal time you're able to have with God on the road.
Okay. So with a schedule, I have a Monday through Friday schedule.
Okay.
I get up, and really with this field, because it's getting so much more enhanced, that a lot of truck drivers are on the road, a lot of people are becoming owner operators, a lot of people are on the internet now, and they're just ordering, and then you got the other companies, so you start seeing so many companies out there. But as a person, in order to make the money, now my whole first goal was just the training.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get comfortable with even being on the road, because you hear so many stories, negative stories about the road, and of course they're there.
Yeah.
But as a woman, you really have to take a little extra precaution. So I started out just kind of like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I would get up at this time, and I'm trying to get from here to here. I'm a go-getter. I'm a hard worker, so I'm running it.
Yeah.
I'm running. But you got this, but you think it's just driving.
Yeah.
But you got this tablet, and it's telling you got to make this load at this time. You got to leave at this time. You got to pick this load up. You got DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, that says you can only work this amount of hours, and you got to take a break at this time. And, then you got your company, and they talking about safety. So every little thing you do, it's like, oh my God. It's like overwhelming. So when you first think about it, I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the road. I get to spend time with me. I get to spend time with God. But it is like, okay, I gotta worry about these tandems, which is sliding the trailer where it's a certain weight, and you start knowing the intricate parts of the truck driving, stuff, and then you getting up early, and you got to end at a certain time. Then you got 10 hours that you can sleep. Then once you sleep those 10 hours, you got to figure out, what's your next plan, and you go from there. Then you drop that off. You got to pick up another load. You're going from this place to this place. So it's like you're not in perspective. You thinking, I'm traveling. I'm going from city to city, but is you're working. So you're not on vacation.
Right.
You might be in Atlanta,
Yeah.
but you're not on
Right.
vacation. So I gotta get that out of my head.
Yeah.
You know, I can't live my best life right
Right.
now. I gotta just work. So I'm thinking, okay, I gotta understand that there's times that I gotta be there. There's a time limit. Like I said, I'm a go-getter. When I get on the road, I want to get there. I'm about, you know, finishing what I start. So I'm like, boom. And then here comes this time, you know, situation, and I gotta stop, take a 30-minute break. Then after that, I get back on the road. I gotta stop, get gas. I gotta eat. So it's all like, okay, a new practice.
Yeah.
And so it's like retraining yourself to live a different way. And now, not only that, but I don't have a restroom. I have a cab. I have all the stuff I need. I got food. I got my bed. I got all that. But it's like, okay, I gotta use the restroom.
Yeah.
So you gotta make pit stops where you gotta go to the restroom, and it's just like, and showers. Like, it's like, whoa, you know. That's your main thing as a woman, your bathroom.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta take your shower, you gotta get yourself together, you got, and you thinking, oh my God, this luxury is taken from me. Like, it don't seem like a luxury when you living in a house. But when you on the road, it is like a luxury because you thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta not take a shower because I gotta get from here to here. I ain't got time. My time done ran out.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm thinking, okay, I gotta do better management of this time because I gotta make stops where I can go to the bathroom. I gotta make stops where I gotta take a shower. I gotta find places that are safe. And then, like I said, you got all these trucks on the road. So this means that you might not find a parking space if you leave out too late.
Oh, wow.
So now, like I said, I'm still kind of intimidating, learning about how to back this big old vehicle up.
Right.
And I got this truck right here and this truck right here. Well, in school, there wasn't no trucks on the end of these trailers. It was just trailers. So me backing in was like, okay, I got this. But when you put a truck in front of that trailer, now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I gotta not hit this truck. And you gotta come really close to a truck to get that trailer backed in.
Wow.
Yes, so it's very intimidating, but it's like, the good thing is, and it's a good and a bad thing. Like, being a woman, everybody's gonna wanna help you. So you like, thank you. But at the same time, you got 3 masculine men that are out here and everybody's trying to tell you what to do.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, who do I listen to? And you over it. You're really over it. Because you're like, look, I'll just figure it out myself. But you like, okay, I'm going to go with the one that seems like he's making more sense and he's not trying to pull your leg or try to do more extra or whatever. So you got to kind of like filter through that situation too. Because if you don't, so say one steps out and helps you, then he's not really doing a real good job of teaching you how to do something, but it's not him, it's you. So then another person will step out. That's what I mean. Like it just becomes an intense situation. So you like, oh my God. But let me tell you.
Like the men, they start playing basketball even harder when the ladies show up.
So they like, just move, man, I'll help her. You know, it's just like, wait a minute, like, hold up. How you gonna just tell him he gotta go? And so I don't get into it. I let them figure it out. And then I get to that point where when I was new and trying to figure it out, I would just be like, don't worry about it. And I would pull off and I would just go. I would just leave because it wasn't them, it was me. I couldn't get it. And the distraction of who to try to listen to was too much. I just was like, forget it. I will find a rest area somewhere and just pull in. I'll go in the rest area and I'm just gonna have to wash up. And then I tried inventive ways. I gotta boil some water in my microwave, add some water to it. I'm gonna make me me a little bath, little bath real quick, and that's good enough. And in the morning, I'll find me a place, or I'll go to the compound and I'll take my shower, because it's just not that serious. I can't do it. Like, it was just those men sometimes, like I said, I'm thankful because they're a lot of help, but when it becomes more than one and they all trying to tell you what to do, you like, wait a minute, like.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, so it was like, at first, it was still the excitement.
Yeah.
It's still the plan that I have. So now I'm like, okay, as I learn this field even more, and even the months that go past, so now I'm getting better with the backing, the traveling, being, working on the time. I'm realizing I need to leave early in the morning and shut down early to get the space that I need, so I don't have to go through, somebody helping me. Yeah. If I start at 3 a.m. and I stop at like 3 p.m., it's a lot of spaces at that time. So I had to redirect my schedule, but there was times where I was like, I need to make the money. Like the traveling, you start thinking about, okay, if I have a load at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in order for me to get a real good space, and I have to go through any difficulties, I had to shut down about 6 or 7. Yeah. But I'm thinking I still got at least 7 hours, 6-7 hours on my clock that's just wasted. And in my mind, I don't want to waste nothing. Yeah. You thinking, I don't want to waste nothing. I want to get there. So I had to really start being more strategic about these plannings and how to pick up a load and get to a place, and because some companies pay by the mile, which is how mine is. And so I'm thinking I need these miles to make the money, because I got these hours that I can't waste them. Yeah. So you thinking, okay, I want to finish this out, but then it creates a cycle of where you're starting late, and you waking up late, you starting late, and then you back in the same rut. So I had to get that all turned around. And of course, the company had to help me with that, because anytime you start getting in a situation where your 14 hours you going over, or you doing anything that's close, you getting close to that, then they like, okay, what can we do to help? So that was a part of like the transition, is me trying to, first of all, know how to pick the load up, and know how to, move, operate the truck, but not just operate the truck, but operate the trailer, but putting the trailer in the right weight and being able to carry that on the road. Then you talking about like the DOT, then you talking about, just getting from one place into traffic and people. Oh my gosh, when you think about that, and they think you can stop this big old vehicle, they jump right in front of you, like you gotta go slow. And a lot of women have heavy feet, so let me tell you, when you gotta go from you doing 55, 65 miles an hour, the speed limit saying 70, to doing 45 on in some of these places, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. You don't want to go that slow. Yeah. I'm rush. Having kids, I gotta do it. Yeah, but then when your life slows down, you're like, oh my gosh.